And welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and I'm talking about some more Lord of the Rings spoilers here. It appears that there's a whole bunch of legendary creatures from this set, as you could probably imagine, because of all the characters, right? They're basing all these legendary creatures off of the characters from the books and whatnot. So a ton to talk about, and I'm not going to get into all of it. I think from this set, I'm just going to do this video talking about some of these new interesting characters, and then I'll probably just do a best of from the set because there's just too much to talk about. And a lot of them I've noticed are just not particularly fantastic build-arounds anyway. So there's not really much to talk about there. So I really wanted to hit on some of the real iconic characters here, though, because, again, this set isn't just, you know, here's some awesome commanders for the commander format, which we don't necessarily need. It's also, here's these really iconic characters that everyone's familiar with. And I think a lot of people might go after some of these commanders, even if they're not particularly good, just because they like those characters, right? So let's start out with Bilbo Birthday Celebrant. White, black, and a green. So now we have an Abzan Bilbo. Wasn't the last Bilbo, is it? So now we have Bilbo in all colors? I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense. It's weird the colors they've chosen for Bilbo here. So Birthday Celebrant, I believe, if I remember correctly, at the start of the movie, the very first Lord of the Rings movie, Bilbo's having his birthday. And then he vanishes and disappears, right? So Halfling Rogue, 2/3. If you would gain life, you gain that much life +1 instead. Yeah, so life gain in Abzan colors. For that reason alone, I think this is going to be a popular commander. We haven't seen, I don't think, a really life gain commander. I mean, it's not a huge payoff, but just we're doing a life gain theme in Abzan colors. And of course, traditionally it was white and black that did the life gain decks. I mean, obviously you could do mono white. You could probably do mono black too, but white and black were the life gain colors. If you're going to make a life gain deck, there was lots of commanders that did it white and black. And then green, obviously, we got the black green ones from, you know, Strixhaven and C21. Now you get to combine all of that, right? And of course, there's going to be a ton that you can put in here. 2 white, black, green, and tap. Exile Bilbo Birthday Celebrant. Search your library for any number of creature cards. Put them onto the battlefield, then what? Search your library for any number of creature cards. Put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Activate only if you have 111 or more life. Oh, man. So 111, I think that's how old he was, that he was turning 111. So that's the flavor of it, obviously. Well, that's a pretty powerful ability. Wow, this is going to be a popular commander for sure. Really popular. For 2 reasons. One, because again, the Abzan life gain is, you know, it's bringing it all. This is just like, in my opinion, Lord Windgrace, right? Because Lord Windgrace was, you had all the, you know, you had Omnath Locus of Rage, which was the go-to lands commander, but it didn't have black, and there was a lot of great stuff in black. Basically the Gitrog, right? You had Omnath and then you had Gitrog. Those were the 2 lands commanders. And when you had Lord Windgrace, he was combining all those colors, so then you could then shoehorn all of that stuff, and that's what a lot of people did. Gitrog and Omnath both lost popularity like crazy because a lot of people just took those commanders and just, oh, well, I get an extra color now. And you know, I can put Omnath in my Gitrog deck or Gitrog in my Omnath deck, and they combined all that. This is going to be the same here, where a lot of people are going to have Orzhov life gain decks or Golgari life gain decks and just combine it all. Or possibly even Selesnya life gain decks, because there's a lot of those too. And just, you can put it all in here. Now you can combine it all. This is going to be an incredibly popular commander, I think. And then obviously that ability, which is game ending. It's not even at sorcery speed. You can do this at instant speed. So obviously you can just throw everything in play on your opponent's end step and then game over, right? I mean, it's pretty hard. You know, you could very easily do the creature combo thing. I'm sure there's lots of creatures that you could combo off with here, but you don't even need to. You could just put a ton of power in play and run your opponents over, right? There's your win con. Your win con stapled on your commander, which is always great. And this is like, you know, having an Insurrection or a Rise of the Dark Realms stapled on your commander, which is fantastic, obviously. 111 a life is a lot. I mean, it sounds like a lot. It's not really. I've seen people with more life than that in commander games a lot. Tons. without even trying really that hard. Just a regular old life gain deck. First turn Soul Warden. First turn Soul Warden. Man, that gets out of hand fast. If nobody gets it off the table, you're going to gain a ton of life. In my Patron of the Kitsune life gain deck, I've gotten there over 111. I'm sure I've done it a few times. All you have to do, really, the easiest way to do it is I get to 6 life, and then I cast a Beacon of Immortality, or any of those life doublers. There's a few of them. That's it. That's not hard. Not hard at all. It's not hard to get to 111 life in a commander game. Again, especially with those colors. And on top of all of that, Abzan is probably the best 3-color combination for removal. So dealing with what your opponents are doing until you can pull this off, that's also going to be a piece of cake. Oh boy, this is going to be a popular commander. Again, just the life gain thing is going to be, that just I'm in an Abzan life gain deck. That alone would make it a popular commander. If that second ability wasn't even on there, I think this would be a pretty popular commander in the format. So you're going to have a ton of that, and you're going to also have a ton of people who just want to pull that off. You're going to have a lot of people playing this deck just because I want to be able to just take 30 creatures out of my deck and just put them directly onto the battlefield. Wow. I haven't seen all the commanders from this set, obviously, but this might be the most popular one from the set for sure. Anyway, moving on. And we got the Witch King, Bringer of Ruin, or I guess just Witch King, Bringer of Ruin. 4 black. By the way, the art, I'll just say, regardless of what you think of this set, and I've heard some negative comments for sure, the art's pretty fantastic on a lot of these cards. 4 black, Wraith, Noble, 5/3, flying. Whenever Witch King, Bringer of Ruin attacks, defending player sacrifices a creature with the least power among creatures they control. Okay, now we're on the other end of the spectrum here. Seems like this set there is like either it's a commander that's super good and it's going to be really popular, or it's like this. Like I've seen a couple now that I'm just like it's almost like they're trying to make it bad. That seems like the case here. Like this is sort of an iconic character, isn't it? The Witch King, 6 mana, 5/3 flyer. That's not good. When it attacks, defending player sacrifices a creature. Oh boy. Yeah, if I was a big fan of the Witch King and I wanted to make a Witch King deck and then I saw this, I would not be happy. That's really bad. I guess they don't get to choose because it has to be the creature with the least power. Obviously, if it was the creature with the greatest power, that'd be much better because they'd have to sacrifice their Avacyn or whatever. But this is... Oh, man. If I was making a Magic card, okay, and I'm not a big fan of power creep here, this would be, 6 mana... 6 mana, I'd probably make it a 6/6 flyer. And whenever it attacks, defending player sacrifices a creature. That's it. Maybe even sacrifices a creature with the greatest power. But sacrifices the creature with the least power? And that's it. Just like there are even commanders in the format that already exist that are way better than this. That Nephrox guy, right? Isn't that just straight up better than this? This is not good. Okay. Anyway, I'm not going to harp on it. This is not a good commander. Moving on. All right. Galadriel, Gift Giver. Of course, again, a very iconic character. 3 green, elf, noble, 4/4. When Galadriel, Gift Giver, enters the battlefield or attacks, choose one. Put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature. Create a food token or create a treasure token. Yeah. Pretty great build around, right? Obviously, any commander with that modal thing going on is always going to be a great build around because, of course, you can do the +1/+1 counter stuff, and even just in mono green, lots of support there. Treasure tokens are always good. I'll just say I really like the tapped treasure tokens that they were creating. I kind of almost wish they would do that with every card, but whatever. You're only creating 1 treasure token here. This is not overpowering by any stretch of the imagination. Again, 5 mana 4/4. That is, when it ETBs, you only get to put a counter on a creature or create a treasure token. Like, that's not great. This is actually not super powerful at all. What's good about it, though, is you have the different directions you can go, or you can go every direction. And I would probably do that with this commander because this ability isn't very overwhelming. I would put, maybe I have like that incubation druid that I want to throw a counter on, right? So I have that. But maybe I don't have all of that stuff in there. Maybe I have, Generous Patron would be a great fit in this deck because now I can because this is any creature, so I can put a +1/+1 counter on my opponent's creatures to draw a card. You could definitely do that. Creating a food token, as I say all the time, and of course there's a ton of food stuff in this set. It's tough to make that useful. But you could build around it. There are definitely some stuff from this set that you could use. Wicked Wolf, is that the wolf that sacks food tokens? I just put it in the Rocco deck that I made. That's a pretty good use for a food token, making your creature indestructible, and creating treasure tokens is always good too. Again, whenever you're creating those artifact tokens, the artifact theme in general works great, although mono green isn't super great there. There are a couple of cards, like that Teething Wormlet, is it called, is a pretty good one if you're going to be cranking out artifact tokens. It's pretty good. Yeah, I'm actually, when I first read it, I was like, hey, that's great. It's doing lots of stuff, but it's not doing it a lot, and it's not, like, you have a 5 mana creature that comes into play, and you get to put a counter on something, or create a treasure token, and then you have to wait the whole nother turn, and then you have to attack with it, and it's only a 4/4 with no evasion. And so if I want to be attacking with it all the time, and I got to put a bunch of stuff on it, to make it so that it doesn't get blocked, and again, I attack, I get to put one more counter on something. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Moving on. Gimli, Mournful Avenger, and I think this is probably my favorite character from the movies. 1 green and a red dwarf warrior 3/2. Gimli, Mournful Avenger has indestructible as long as 2 or more creatures died under your control this turn. Okay, that's very interesting. So that doesn't have to be your turn. This is really interesting because you're in Gruul colors and maybe you want to be sacrificing. Like, the way you can make that ability really good, of course, is someone casts a board wipe, and then you would need an instant speed sack outlet, sacrifice a couple of your own creatures, and then you're in response, and then your commander gets indestructible, survives the board wipe. You could do it on your turn, like I have a couple creatures die, then on my, maybe in combat, second main phase, I cast a Blasphemous Act, and my commander sticks around. It's interesting ability. I don't know if it's super build aroundable. I think let's see what the rest of the card is doing. Whenever another creature you control dies, boy, really aristocrats theme in Gruul colors here, eh? Put a +1/+1 counter on Gimli. When this ability resolves for the 3rd time this turn, Gimli fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Oh boy, these are very flavorful. I'll just say that's probably a good thing. The flavor here seems to fit. That ability is also very weird and hard to use, and again in Gruul colors. So whenever another creature you control dies, you get a counter on it. That's pretty good. Of course, that's happening all the time. So again, playing into this, the first ability, I can sacrifice 2 creatures. My commander gets indestructible. Then I'm going to put 2 counters on my commander, and then if I can do it again, that'll be the 3rd time that ability has resolved, and it will fight up to 1 target creature you don't control. Which, again, if we go to the board wipe situation, I don't care about fighting because all the creatures are going to die anyway. Like, if I'm doing a fight tribal deck, I'm doing, that's what I did. I'm doing it a little bit in my Questing Beast deck. I originally did it a lot more. I'm doing it a lot less because Death Touch and fighting work great together. If I'm doing it here, you could do it a little bit. There's not a huge benefit to doing that, especially if I'm in red where I have, lots of board wipes and stuff. Again, you're doing the +1/+1 counter, so that's something you can build around. Boy, this is an interesting one. Am I going to sacrifice 3 creatures just so I can fight another creature? It's probably way easier to remove creatures in Gruul colors than to go through all that trouble to do it. Obviously, if you've sacrificed 3 creatures or had 3 creatures die, you are then going to have an indestructible commander too. So the fighting part, you don't have to worry about your commander dying. There's that. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Again, another commander that I'm just like, yeah, it's all right. Certainly not bad. It would be an I'd have to think about this one really to be, you'd almost, because you'd want a bunch of creatures around that you could then sacrifice, right? So I think you probably want maybe to do some tribal theme. Maybe you could do dwarves here, I guess. You could also do just like saprolings or something, or goblins even. Maybe that would be a neat flavor thing, maybe. Just do goblin tribal, and I'm sacrificing all my goblins to make my Gimli more powerful. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I would say it's middle of the road as far as the things it's doing are interesting, but certainly not super great. All right, moving on. Okay, and the last one I'm doing today, the Balrog, Flame of Udin. Again, very iconic character. Everyone remembers this from the movie, I'm sure. 3 black and a red Avatar Demon 7/7. So it's a big boy, as you would expect. 5 mana. That's not lots. Trample, of course. When a legendary creature an opponent controls dies, put the Balrog, Flame of Udin on the bottom of its owner's library. What? When a legendary creature an opponent controls dies, the Balrog... Put the Balrog, Flame of Udin on the bottom of its owner's library. Again, big flavor win there, but that seems awful. I mean, as a commander, that's horrendously bad, right? This is not even... Like, just whenever a legendary creature dies, you have to tuck it on the bottom of your library, which, of course, if it's your commander, you would just put it in the command zone probably, right? That's all. Man, this... Imagine this guy against a Safi Eric's daughter deck. Ouch. Just every time you attack, they go, I'm going to sacrifice my commander. And it gets tucked. Oh, that is so bad. Even not as a commander. Even if it's just you have a demon tribal deck, right? In black and red. This is not... I would never put this in there. I mean, 5 mana, 7/7 with trample's really good, but it so quickly gets tucked on so quickly and easily gets tucked on the bottom of your library. Oh man, this is when a legendary creature an opponent controls. That's any legendary creature, not their commander, not like any. If it just happens, even if they're not trying to, it just happens, right? You're attacking one dude, and he responds by, Infernal Grasp, someone else's commander. 2 for 1. Not only did I kill one opponent's commander, but I just tucked yours on the bottom of your library. This is 2 for 1 removal. 2 for 1 removal every time you play against the Balrog. Wow, that's so bad. That is terrible. Oh man. I've heard some comments from people in the last video about some of these commanders, and again, I've seen a few where I'm like, man, that's really bad. I figured, okay, some of these other ones that I've never heard of, you can expect that they would be, not necessarily great, but I figured, okay, well, the Witch King, Balrog, Galadriel, these are like big characters. I figured for sure they would be great. I mean, the Bilbo one is bonkers. That one is, of course, going to be incredibly popular. Pretty much the rest of these that I talked about today are not very good at all, actually. I mean, the Gimli's okay. It's a little interesting to do Gruul Aristocrats, but man, the rest of this one is just awful. There's no way. Unless you really, again, I'm the underwhelming commanders guy. How do you make this good? I don't know. Unless you really, really want to challenge. This is awful. Again, even in the 99, this is awful. I would never put this. There's so many better demons in Rakdos colors that why would you ever play this, right? Whew. All right. Anyway, that's it for today. I don't think I'm going to cover... I probably won't do any more spoiler videos. Honestly, a lot of really not good commanders. Not that we need it, okay? And again, I'm just evaluating these. That's it. It's not like we need a lot of great commanders in the format. We already got a ton. Flavorful. Again, the flavor I think is great here. Like the Balrog, horrible as a commander, I think. The flavor's pretty cool, though. I guess it does make sense, right? Tuck it on the bottom of your library when, Gandalf falls off the bridge or whatever. That does make sense, sure. As commanders, though, a lot of these are really bad. Really, really bad. And had a lot of negative comments about people not loving this set either. I guess we'll see how it plays out. This is probably, I think, the last spoiler video I'm going to do. And then I probably will talk about... Because now I'm finding it kind of challenging. If I do my top 10 commanders from this set, what am I going to put in there? I've only come across maybe 2 that I actually think are pretty good. So it'll be interesting to see if I can even get to 10. I guess we'll see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, though. That is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.